Well, it's a very warm welcome back to second half independent off-tube studio commentary. The second half between West Ham United and Nottingham Forest has just got underway. West Ham straight away playing a long ball down the right-hand side, looking to try and get on the front foot from the very first few seconds here as the ball is played towards the right-hand edge of the field. It's crossing from Ben Johnson, which is charged down. And that's away for a corner kick. Is that gone out for a corner? I think Johnson was able to get a deflection on that and win his side a corner kick inside the first 30 seconds. And there has been a change here for West Ham as well. Just looking at the 11 that has come out here, we can see that it looks like Vladimir Tufal has been replaced by Aaron Cresswell, and now Johnson has gone over towards the right and Cresswell will play on the left, so we could just getting a visual confirmation of that. So I'll run you through the two 11s in just a moment. We're going to see this corner kick for West Ham first. It's an in-swinger from Aaron Cresswell getting involved straight away here, and it's heading towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Header from Tomas Souček just wide of that near post. Trying to cut across that ball in from Cresswell there. Tomas Souček actually peeling away from his marker and then just trying to dart that ball back in underneath the crossbar, but it's just over from the Czech international. So just to remind you of the two 11s very quickly. For West Ham, it is Łukasz Fabiański in goal. Back four of Ben Johnson, Angelo Ogbonna, Naif Forgerd and Aaron Cresswell, who replaces Vladimir Tufal. Two holder midfielders, Tomas Souček and Declan Rice. The three ahead of them, Said Benrahma, Lucas Paqueta and Jarrod Bowen, with Danny Ings as the front man for Nottingham Forest. No changes at half-time. It is Keylor Navas in goal with a back four of Neco Williams, Joe Worrell, Felipe and Renan Lodi. The three in midfield are Remo Freuler, John Joe Shelvey and Jack Colback. The two forward-thinking midfielders are Morgan Gibbs-White and Brennan Johnson, with Chris Wood as the lone man up front. It is West Ham in possession down the right-hand side here with Ben Johnson, finding Tomas Souček. Back to Ben Johnson. He's lost the ball there as Brennan Johnson tries to start a counter-attack here for Forest, but that one is won back very quickly by Naif Forgerd. And now it's played to Souček down the right-hand side. He's got Shelvey for company, but he does well there, Souček, just to play a ball down the channel. And on the overlap here is Ben Johnson now. His cross deflects off Felipe, and is that out for a corner? No, I think it's just out for a throw this time, just by the corner flag here. Brennan Johnson waiting to restart play. We do finally have a goal in the Premier League. It's Gabriel Martinelli with the goal for Arsenal, although we'll wait another minute or two just to be doubly sure, because Arsenal did have the lead in the first half in that game away at Leicester before a VAR decision chalked that goal off. But it looks as though the Brazilian has given Arsenal the lead now at the start of the second half. It's still goalless between Everton and Villa, Leeds and Southampton, and in this game between West Ham and Nottingham Forest. Bournemouth against Man City to come at 5:30, with Crystal Palace against Liverpool at 7:45. After that throw on to West Ham, there was an offside against the Hammers. So Keylor Navas now restarts play, plays a long ball up towards the halfway line. Brennan Johnson does well to just nick that ball off Declan Rice, but then the ball from Brennan Johnson goes straight through to Aaron Cresswell. So West Ham are now back in possession with Ben Johnson down the right-hand side. His ball over the top is easily dealt with here by Felipe. And then he drops the shoulder just to get away from Jarrod Bowen as well. Lodi under pressure from Paqueta. So we're having to go back towards Felipe, then he goes all the way back towards Keylor Navas, closed down here by Danny Ings. Hasn't got time there, Navas, to dawdle. And in fairness, he puts a good clearance down the right-hand side, which is kept in play here by Neco Williams. And that's a good ball from Williams as well to find Brennan Johnson. He gets towards the edge of the West Ham penalty area, getting away from Ogbonna. His cross into the box is just a bit too short for Chris Wood, who's had precious little service in this game so far. The New Zealand striker. Back with Ogbonna now, his clearance up towards the halfway line, headed down by Joe Worrell. And then it's just dropping in front of Felipe here. Both sets of players having their hands up for a foul. Nothing doing though, says the referee Jared Gile. Forest back in possession. Here is Morgan Gibbs-White heading towards the edge of the penalty area. He's got Williams on the overlap. Williams' ball in. It's a good one. It's along the ground this time. And it needed that last-ditch clearance there from Naif Forgerd, because Chris Wood was just behind the Moroccan there. And if Forgerd doesn't get that touch, then Wood is odds on, I would say, there to score for Forest. But in fact, it was just a throw rather than a corner, and it's taken here by Gibbs-White. Tried to get the ball back there from Neco Williams, but in doing so, he can only play it out for a goal kick. So we've had 5 minutes of the second half. Similar really to the 45 we saw in the first half, in terms of West Ham seeing more of the ball, trying to create a chance, and then Forest going up the other end trying to respond but not really able to trouble the goalkeeper. Now Fabianski's ball out to Cresswell is miscontrolled by Cresswell. Forest are straight back into possession. Brennan Johnson breaking into the box, but he wanted too much time there. Declan Rice doing well to win the ball back for West Ham, but then a combination of Rice and Ben Johnson lose the ball here for West Ham down the left. Forest with the throw. They go back towards the halfway line here now for John Joe Shelvey. Shelvey into Gibbs White. Back in towards Felipe. And Shelvey now switching play over towards the right hand side. Good ball to pick out Neco Williams. He thought about a long ball up towards Chris Wood. Just decides to hold it up though for Remo Freuler. Swiss international into Brennan Johnson. Now it's with Williams again, heading towards the edge of the area, skipping away from Saeed Benrahma. Williams shaping to shoot, and it's a tame left-footed effort. And just as he takes that shot as well, and it goes wide, there's a tall frame of Chris Wood just pointing both his hands down to his feet, saying, well, if you're going to do that from 20-odd yards and miss the goal by a couple of yards, you could have at least tried to thread the ball into me, because Wood really hasn't had anything by way of a decent ball into the box to try and work with today. And Fabianski now waiting to restart play here for West Ham. Long clearance from the goalkeeper up towards the halfway line, headed on by Tomas Souček. Ball drops here to Danny Ings. It's a huge high ball here from Danny Ings, which in fairness is taken down brilliantly here by Saeed Benrahma. He breaks into the box down the left-hand side, but Neco Williams puts a foot in, and he's furious here, Neco Williams, because he feels as though he deflected that ball back off the Algerian to win his side a goal kick. Referee, however, feels otherwise. It's been given as a West Ham corner. Let's have a look here. Has Williams got anything? No. I don't see any touch there on Benrahma at all. I think Williams was just trying to perhaps show something to the referee there, but there was no deflection of Benrahma. West Ham take the free kick, take the corner kick, I should say, short. Cresswell into Benrahma. And then Benrahma trying to lift the ball into the box himself. His target was Tomas Souček, but he got nowhere near the West Ham midfielder. Out for a goal kick to Nottingham Forest. And so you can see there a couple of shots of the West Ham bench. You can see Mikael Antonio just sat down, but just as I say that, actually him and Pablo Fornals have just gone up to warm up. Whether or not that's something that David Moyes has requested, or if they're just doing that as routine anyway, but potentially West Ham will be thinking about another change just to try and really get this advantage that they've had in terms of possession, just to get it over the line with a few more decent chances. As Benrahma bumps into Neco Williams there. The free kick has been given Forest's way. Williams back on his feet. It looks like Keylor Navas is going to be waiting to take this free kick now for Forest, just at the edge of the penalty area. 53 minutes gone. It is goalless. Also goalless between Everton and Aston Villa, as it is between Leeds and Southampton. Two massive games down the bottom of the table. Of course, both sides in this game will be keeping an eye on those two fixtures as well. Though Forest away from relegation trouble, say 5 points clear of West Ham. Doesn't mean to say they're completely out of the relegation dogfight. They need to get a few more wins under their belt just to really pull away from the sides down the bottom. But with Bournemouth at home to Man City this evening, in the early evening kickoff, they'll be hoping that certainly City can take all 3 points off Bournemouth there. And I was thinking about this before kickoff as well. With Everton playing Aston Villa and Southampton, or Leeds playing Southampton, I was wondering really what West Ham would have preferred in terms of a result in those two games. Do they want 2 draws? Or do they want one side to win to leave the other side even in further trouble? I would imagine that in terms of the game between Leeds and Southampton, probably a draw would be a good result there for West Ham, because it means that neither side is getting any additional points. But West Ham now with a great chance as the ball is played into the box. Benrahma tried to get away from Worrell there. Forest just dawdling in midfield, and West Ham able to win the ball back. And Benrahma into the penalty area, forced to go back towards Ben Johnson. Johnson now with a left-footed cross into the penalty area. Ings tries to play it back towards Paqueta, but there's a decent clearance there from Remo Freuler up towards the halfway line. West Ham back in possession here with Angelo Ogbonna. Short ball in towards Aaron Cresswell. And now Cresswell and Rice exchanging passes. It's Ings and Paqueta off down the left-hand side. Paqueta's ball in towards Benrahma. Ings is just ahead of him, but he tees up Bowen, who thought about the shot. He does get a shot. It's off the post. Bowen's effort hits the post. It was a right-footed effort as well. That would have been a collector's item, a right-footed goal from Bowen from outside the box. But certainly Navas was beaten. And it's a decent strike from Bowen. He is definitely a lot more left-footed, but that was a good strike with his weaker foot. Gets the ball back at the edge of the area from the throw, and the shot comes in from Paqueta. It's just over the bar. West Ham are getting closer and closer here to the first goal this afternoon. Bowen hitting the post with that effort. They hit the post in the first half as well, and now Bowen teeing up Lucas Paqueta, who really tried to measure that one, sort of aiming towards the top corner there, Paqueta, and it wasn't too far away at all. Just lifted over the bar. It actually hit the stanchion post behind the goal as he was aiming for the top corner. And the effort from Jarrod Bowen, it's a very unlucky one. It hits the base of the post on the inside of the post, but just goes off at a slight angle across the 6-yard box before it was eventually cleared. Ings wasn't too far away from a potential rebound there as well. Despite our studios here being soundproof, I've just heard the raised voice saying Bukayo Saka, and that tells me that potentially we've got a second goal at the King Power Stadium as Arsenal double their lead away at Leicester City. Looks as though it is Bukayo Saka that has got the goal for the Gunners there. In the meantime, a ball is played back in. West Ham trying to get forward again here with Ogerd. Just stops that ball getting through towards Gibbs-White. Colback does well to win the ball back here for us. In fact, false alarm. I take it back at the King Power. It doesn't look as though that second goal for Arsenal has come there. Looked as though there was a good chance for the Gunners, but it's gone a begging. So it is still 1-0 to Arsenal there away at Leicester. That's still the only goal we've had this afternoon in the Premier League. As Ogbonna now with a header, just as that ball was heading towards the edge of the West Ham penalty area. When Johnson was lurking, so Ogbonna with the header out for a throw to Forest down the right-hand side. Waiting to take this now is Neco Williams. Williams with a few options here. Referee just asking him to hurry along. And now it is Williams' ball in towards Chris Wood, headed away by Ogbonna, but Forest win it back in midfield. And now it's Gibbs-White playing it back to Renan Lodi. Lodi into Freuler. It's about 40 yards out. Square now to Williams on the right-hand side. Being closed down by Benrahma. Back into the middle now. Freuler into Colback. Over towards Lodi on the left-hand side. Johnson back in towards Colback. Gibbs-White now turning away from Paqueta, getting towards the edge of the area before the ball is put out for a throw. And Gibbs-White now waiting to leave this ball in phase. He's going to leave it here for Renan Lodi. Anything that Forest can do to try and keep a bit of possession inside the West Ham half, they've got to try to. There has been very little in terms of an attacking threat from the visitors in this game as the ball is played into the box for Chris Wood. Wood was still in an offside position there, and now a bit of a pushing and shoving going on here between Jonjo Shelvey and Thomas Souček. Shelvey actually jumped up to try and catch that ball, and then only then did he realise that there was an offside. And he sort of bumped into Souček, who took exception to that, but the two of them have now been calmed down by our referee, and Fabianski can take this free kick for West Ham United now. Fabianski's long ball going down this right-hand side. Souček was chasing it. Felipe gets there first. And then he clears it towards the halfway line, straight onto the head of Angelo Ogbonna. Ogbonna's header dropping here. Jack Colback heads it away, and now Freuler in towards Jonjo Shelvey. Goes out towards the right-hand side here for Neco Williams. Williams fires a ball down the right-hand side, but Cresswell clears that for West Ham. He only clears it to Jonjo Shelvey, though, and here comes Forest now with Shelvey's ball into the box. It's too low for Chris Wood. And now Declan Rice with a ball over the top, one for Ings to chase. There's a header back from Joe Worrell, which almost caught out Keylor Navas. It was dropping just outside the penalty area. Navas would have been hoping to try and catch that, obviously, as it was his teammate heading it to him. But in the end, he was forced to use his feet there because the ball wasn't going to quite get into the box as Benrahma's the pass to Benrahma, I should say, from Declan Rice is cut out by Neco Williams. The game's just picking up in pace now, and suddenly Forest have a counter-attack here as Gibbs-White spots the run of Brennan Johnson. Johnson breaking into the box. Oh, he wants too long, and it's an absolutely horrible effort from Brennan Johnson in the end. And he quite rightly hides his face inside his shirt there, because that is not good from Brennan Johnson. Forest having space over on that right-hand side. Cresswell had pushed forward for West Ham. That entire channel was clear here for Forest. Johnson just taking a little bit too long inside the box before deciding to go for it with his left foot. And all the time, Chris Wood is just patiently waiting inside the penalty area for a pass. Pass never reached him. And it's a poor effort from Brennan Johnson in the end. He's a young player full of confidence and he believes in his own ability. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but he just has to have that presence of mind to have that choice in his head between always going for goal or usually going for goal or perhaps trying to find a teammate there. The pass was the better option with that last attack. As here come West Ham now. Bowen into Paqueta. Now Cresswell on the left-hand side in towards Benrahma. Benrahma's cross stopped, almost stopped by Worrell, but it still reached to Danny Ings. Ings plays it back towards Cresswell. Cresswell's cross into the penalty area is cut out, and now Brennan Johnson trying to start a counter for Forest. Wasn't able to though, and now it's with Paqueta again for West Ham. Heading towards the edge of the penalty area, threads a ball in. Oh, it's not far away from finding Benrahma and Danny Ings, who are both breaking into the box. It was cut out by Neco Williams, and now Forest go on the counter-attack as Chris Wood tries to play a ball into space here past Angelo Ogbonna. Ogbonna doing his best to try and let that ball go out for a throw. It doesn't go out for a throw in the end. Ogbonna is forced to put a clearance in. And West Ham keep possession in midfield now with Declan Rice just getting away from Jonjo Shelvey. Ball over the top now is a good one for Danny Ings to chase, but it's also well cut out there by Joe Worrell. Remo Freuler in possession now for Nottingham Forest. Back into Neco Williams. His pass to Brennan Johnson taken down. He goes back to Freuler. Space here for Shelvey as he turns and then spots Renan Lodi off down the left-hand side, and Lodi breaks into the penalty area. He goes for goal and he's appealing a handball there. Referee says no handball. Lodi still keeps it alive. He finds Brennan Johnson, left edge of the penalty area. Johnson's ball in is too low, easily headed away by Orgerd. And so now cleared back up towards the halfway line. Kept in play here by Felipe. Headed on towards Jack Colback. Lovely drop of the shoulder there from Colback. Gets away from Souček and now breaks into the penalty area alongside Renan Lodi. Lodi's ball back towards the edge of the area. Brennan Johnson shooting once again. It's such a bad option. He's got 3 West Ham players charging him down. He's got at least 3 Forest players to try and pass the ball to. And he decides to, in the end, just go for goal. And that is charged down easily. But good work there from Jonjo Shelvey. Looked as though his side were going to lose the ball, but he just muscles Orgerd off the ball and wins his side a throw-on. Finally seen a replay of that appeal for handball. Well, it is a handball from Ben Johnson. He strikes his arm without a doubt, but it's I can only assume that VAR have not taken an interest in it because it was so close to Renan Lodi. He was only about a yard away from him. The ball was shot straight at his arm, so they would argue that perhaps he's not had enough time to get out of the way. But or has it in fact deflected off his thigh and then hit his arm? Maybe that's what's swung it in the video officials' mind, that it shouldn't be a penalty. But as I say, you're a clever person than me if you can second guess what the VAR officials are thinking half the time, because really, even after all this time of having video assistant referees, we're still getting decisions that are very questionable. And although Lee Mason was made to be a bit of a scapegoat after that Arsenal-Brentford game, I mean, the fact that that's the only time when the VAR officials have had to really step up and make big apologies, and somebody's been disciplined and in the end leaving by mutual consent. When you think of all the glaring errors that VAR has made, it's only because that was an offside that could have had lines drawn in that was made into such a big deal. But the amount of poor handballs and other penalties and fouls and non-fouls that have been given or not given by VAR since it was brought into the English game, it seems strange to me that one is always going to be remembered as the one that got a referee sacked, when really there should have been plenty of other situations where VAR should have taken a bit more of a reprimand in terms of how the game is managed. But anyway, ranting over, 64 minutes gone. Independent off-tube studio commentary, goalless here between West Ham and Nottingham Forest. Free kick to Forest around about the halfway line. Shelvey's ball into the box, bouncing inside the West Ham penalty area. It just wasn't quite getting through to Fabianski, but in fairness, Declan Rice did well there just to shepherd the ball to make sure it found Fabianski. Now Fabianski's been struck on the head as he was trying to crouch down. I mean, it seemed so innocuous to me. Couldn't see any kind of contact with Fabianski at all. Where's this? Is this his own teammate that's caught him here? Or is this? Oh, it's Felipe's knee that's just jarred into Łukasz Fabianski there, and that may just be causing a problem here for the West Ham keeper. he had to fall on the ball to make sure that it didn't quite reach the Forest man, who was still trying to close him down. And just looking at that again, we are seeing some activity on the Nottingham Forest bench. Looks like Andre Ayew is getting ready to come on. There's also a goal being scored at the Goodison Park, and it's Everton 0, Aston Villa 1. And the goal for Villa is Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins is the goal scorer, converting a penalty there for Villa. So Everton, seemingly new manager bounce under Sean Dyche with that first win against Arsenal, but then a very flat performance against Liverpool. They're not a particularly great performance against Leeds, but they won that game 1-0. But if they were to lose at home to Villa today, that would be a big loss for Everton. Things very, very tight down the bottom of the league. The live table showing Bournemouth just dropping into the relegation zone, with West Ham having their draw. So the current table shows Southampton as last, Leeds in 19th, Bournemouth in 18th, Everton in 17th, with West Ham in 16th. But of course, is a table that shows the positions as they are now, with the scores as they are. Potentially, we are going to see a few more other goals. Though you never know. It has been a very, very quiet afternoon so far in terms of action in front of goal. Substitution here for Forest is going to be Jonjo Shelvey that gets the hook. And you can see, same old Shelvey, doesn't matter what club colours he's in. If he's been asked to go off the field, he doesn't look happy about it. It's the kind of player that always expects a lot from his teammates. And you can see he's not happy there as he goes off the field, Jonjo Shelvey. It's obviously going to be a new team for him. He's not had too much game time for Newcastle over the past few months either. So he's just perhaps needing a little bit longer to get into match fitness. Jonjo Shelvey coming from not too far away from the London Stadium. Brought up in Dagenham, so he would have liked to have had a better performance here this afternoon, as it looks as though we're going to have a concussion substitution here. Fabianski looking very groggy here, and hopefully that they can make a decision fairly quickly here as to what happens with the West Ham keeper. Fact is that he still hasn't stood up since that fairly innocuous collision there with Felipe. So it may well turn out that Fabianski has to go off the field here. It's taking a long, long time for them to make a decision. This is the part of the concussion protocol, and indeed injuries, that frustrate me. It shouldn't have to take this long. He's clearly not able to play here, Fabianski. He's not able to even lift his head up. The physio is having to support his head so it's obvious that Areola's going to have to come on. So unless this is all a tactic to give that West Ham keeper, the sub-keeper, another 30 seconds of warm-up time, I can only assume that it's that, because to me it's obvious that Fabianski can't play on. So why drag out? Why keep him on the field and then just make it even worse? Take him off the field, let him see the doctor immediately, and get the substitute keeper on. That's the whole point of having these concussion substitutions. You can make these changes without having to worry about it impacting on your 5 regular subs. But Fabianski now walking off the field quite gingerly, I have to say. So he's not going to be coming back, and Alphonse Areola getting ready to come on here for the home side. It's taken a good few minutes here for Fabianski to be checked over, but yeah, he looks like he's had a real blow to the head there. So Fabianski off, and Alphonse Areola on now for West Ham. He's had a very quiet afternoon as well, Fabianski. That's probably even more frustrating for him, that he was thinking this was a good chance for him to have a clean sheet for West Ham today. So West Ham have had a couple of clean sheets in their last few games. Their win away at Derby in the Cup was the 2-0 win. The win against Everton week before, 10 days before, that was a 2-0 win as well. And that's a win away at Brentford in the FA Cup in early January. That was also a win by a goal to 0. But Areola's on the field now, 69 minutes on the clock, but it's more like probably 66 minutes, I would guess, maybe even less than that, in terms of how much time we've actually had, because there was a long injury pause there for Fabianski. Ball is now back in play. Long clearance from Areola. As I mentioned there as well, Jonjo Shelvey replaced by Andre Ayew. So that's how it looks here at the London Stadium. Still 0-0, and it's still 0-0 at Ellen Road as well. But West Ham now in possession down the right-hand side. Declan Rice just having to get away there from Brennan Johnson, switching play over towards the left. Here is Cresswell. Cresswell finding Danny Ings, and then Ings spots a lot of space here for Bowen down the right-hand side. Bowen at the edge of the area, looks up. He's got options left and right here. Jarrod Bowen, he goes for goal. No, he goes inside for Danny Ings, and inside the 6-yard box. Danny Ings with the finish for West Ham. Just seconds after West Ham had to change their keeper because of an injury. They go up the other end and score, and it's Danny Ings with the finish. And it just opened up for West Ham in midfield. It'll be frustrating for Steve Cooper and Forest because it was from open play, but it was just after play had restarted that you'd think that Forest were organised inside their own half. But in actual fact, it just took a little while for Forest to get into position. And when that ball is played down the right-hand side, there's a lot of space for Jarrod Bowen. And we'll see here from the replay. Ings starts this off on the halfway line with a lovely switch ball out towards the right-hand side for Jarrod Bowen. Bowen breaking into the box, and we're going to have a VAR check here, I think. I think Ings is okay, but we'll need to double check because just as that ball is played to him, he seems to be level with Neco Williams, but it's once you start getting those pencil-thin lines out, we'll have to see if he's still level with Williams or not. It's a good finish from Ings as well. He's actually losing his balance as that ball gets to him, and he's able to just hit that away from the goalkeeper who's diving to his left. Ings hits it to his right, but as VAR completed its check, well, we're having the check now, and I think Danny Ings is going to be okay. I mentioned Neco Williams. It's actually the left foot of Joe Worrell that I think is playing the West Ham man on side. So we're checking that now. VAR is having a look. There's also Renan Lodi. I think he's going to be okay, yes. Lodi is in a perfect line with his teammate Joe Worrell, but both of them are still half a foot ahead of Ings, or behind Ings, whichever way you look at it. In terms of anyway, the long and the short of it is that the goal will stand. There is no offside. West Ham take the lead here at the London Stadium. It's 72 minutes gone. Independent off-tube studio commentary, and absolute delight for those West Ham fans. They are in a relegation battle. There's no doubt about that. And the ball now back in play here. Down the left with Paqueta trying to wing the ball back, and he does win the ball back off Neco Williams, plays it in towards Benrahma. Benrahma breaks into the box. It's a tight angle for Benrahma into the back of the net. West Ham have a second goal inside 30 seconds. Forest collapsing defensively here inside a minute, and West Ham go from 0-0 to 2-0 in less than 30 seconds. Unbelievable here. David Moyes delighted. The London Stadium, or at least 80% of the London Stadium, will be delighted as well. That's a big, big goal for West Ham. And a big goal for Forest to concede as well. They've looked a little bit tentative this afternoon, and now they're in real trouble here, Forest, because they've not looked like scoring, to be quite honest, for most of this game. And now with less than 20 minutes to go, they find themselves 2 down. But it's from the kickoff, West Ham pressing straight away, and it's great work here from Paqueta. He gets away from Neco Williams and then finds the side Benrahma. Benrahma breaks into the box, looks up, and he finds Danny Ings, and the ball sort of deflects off Ings' knee. And then I think he might hit him on the chest before it actually gets into the back of the net. We'll see from this replay here. Well, it's a combination of body parts from Danny Ings, but it's in the back of the net. And it's Said Benrahma with the assist. And David Moyes, now we're seeing the full replay of him celebrating that second goal. He leaps up into the air. Absolutely delighted, David Moyes, to see his side go 2 up. And with that second goal, and the fact that Everton are now losing as well. West Ham 16th in the live table. And 2 points ahead of Bournemouth, of course, who play in the 5:30 game at home to Manchester City. But now, what have Forest got left in the tank to try and fashion at least a goal to get back into the game? Well, West Ham going to run riot now because they win the ball back here in midfield with Rice playing it in towards Benrahma. Benrahma backheeled it to an invisible teammate, and then he looked round and he actually saw Rice pointing at him, saying, "No, you're going to have to get the ball yourself." But Forest now win it back, and it's on the halfway line here with Morgan Gibbs-White. He's got Johnson out towards the right-hand side. Wood had made a run into the box, but he's having to cut back now because he would have been in an offside position. Gibbs-White over towards Williams. Williams with 4-5 players inside that West Ham box to aim for, but he just plays it short to Remo Freuler. Back to Williams again. His cross is charged down by Paqueta, and Gibbs-White could have let it go for a corner. He doesn't want to take the chance though. He whips it in towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Ogerd with the header. Now, why has it not been given as a corner? I was sure that Ogerd had the final touch on that, but it may well be that there was there a foul there in the build-up? Well, I'm not entirely sure. There may have been an offside. In any case, it's not a corner kick to Nottingham Forest now. It is just a goal kick to West Ham. And Danny Ings, 2 big goals for him. You know that when he gets the service, he can be a very prolific striker. Some great days at Burnley, then moved to Liverpool, beset by injuries at Liverpool, rebuilt his career and his scoring form at Southampton, and couldn't quite bed down at Aston Villa. But you think this is actually quite a good move, I think, for Ings and for West Ham, because there are creative players in this West Ham squad. There's certainly players that can provide a front man with the right kind of cross into the box. And so now we can see the ball has gone out of play for a throw to West Ham. And so you can see Steve Cooper is very unhappy there, having a conversation with the referee. I think it was in line with the fact that it was taking West Ham that long to take the throw on. But in the end, West Ham take the throw and they lose the ball almost immediately. It's Felipe now stepping forward for Forest, being closed down by Danny Ings. Goes back to Renan Lodi. It's with IU now down the left-hand side. It goes back in towards Lodi, cleared up towards the halfway line. Chris Wood couldn't quite get on the end of that one. It's played towards the edge of the box. And Forest now with Renan Lodi again, closed down by Jarrod Bowen. Out for a throw, but we're going to see a double change here for Forest now, with Harry Toffolo and Jesse Lingard coming on for the visitors. So it looks like Lingard is coming on to replace Chris Wood. You've got to feel sorry for Chris Wood. He's not done a lot wrong today, but he's not done a lot right either, because he's just not had the service in the right place. Harry Toffolo coming on as well, and that's going to be for Renan Lodi. So it's Lodi replaced by Harry Toffolo. Toffolo, the former Huddersfield man, on the field now to play at left back. And Jesse Lingard, I don't imagine that he'll go straight into that front role. I would imagine that he'll drop, and it may well be Brennan Johnson that's asked to push into that number 9 role. We'll wait and see if we even get a chance to spot it, because Forest have had so little possession up front in this second half. In the meantime, here come West Ham again. It's with Declan Rice at the edge of the area, finding Saeed Benrahma. Benrahma dropping a shoulder before he goes back to Rice. Rice goes for the top corner. What a goal from the West Ham captain. That's surely got to be game over now. Declan Rice with a lovely effort, lifting that one into the top corner. And West Ham United have a third goal. Declan Rice is delighted. Bubbles are blowing all over the London Stadium now. And Nottingham Forest are well and truly beaten in this game with 12 minutes to go. West Ham now lead by 3-0. And just as that goal goes in for West Ham, a big goal going in at Ellen Road. And it's Junior Firpo who gets the goal for Leeds United. Leeds lead by 1-0 against Southampton. And Leeds need that win today, especially with West Ham now winning by 3-0. Looking at the live table, Leeds are out of the relegation zone, dropping Everton back into it, along with Bournemouth and Southampton are rooted to the bottom. That's how it looks in the live table. We're now getting a replay of that West Ham goal. It's a lovely finish from Declan Rice, just at the edge of the area, just measured his effort, and goalkeeper diving to try and get that to that one. Keylor Navas unable to make the save though. And West Ham now with their third goal. And Forest, well, they've made the changes just a few seconds before, but it's too little too late, and a huge big smile on the face of Declan Rice, and why not? It really is a great goal from the Hammers captain. And we're back underway here now with 12 minutes plus injury time to play. Ball played over towards the edge of the Forest penalty area. Bowen and Toffolo racing after that one, but Navas gets in between the two of them and is able to make the save. So we have a goal in every Premier League game now. Everton 0, Aston Villa 1, Leeds United 1, Southampton 0, Leicester City 0, Arsenal 1, and West Ham now leading 3-0 against Nottingham Forest. Ball back towards Joe Worrell at the edge of his own penalty area. Square to Felipe. Worrell now up towards the halfway line, headed down by Ogbonna. Bouncing ball here in midfield. West Ham have it back with Aaron Cresswell inside towards Saeed Benrahma. Is it short here to Danny Ings? Ings with options left and right, going back towards the halfway line here. It's with Declan Rice now turning away from Morgan Gibbs-White. Played back towards the edge of the penalty area here. Naif Ogurd across towards Angelo Ogbonna. And then Bonner's clearance up towards the halfway line, headed down. It's a bouncing ball, headed for... Oh, that's a strong header there from... well, there may be a head injury there for RU, but he's got up, thankfully. And West Ham are on the attack now down the left with Saeed Benrahma. Gets all the way to the byline, trying to get away from Joe Worrell. And the ball deflects off Worrell and out for a throw to West Ham down the left-hand side. West Ham really have the bit between their teeth now in this second half. It's a big goal that from well, the two goals in a minute, of course, completely changed this game in West Ham's favour. That third goal now from Declan Rice has just put the game to bed. Just looking at some of the other scores as well in the Championship. A couple of big wins. Burnley now 4-0 up against Huddersfield Town. QPR 3-1 down at home to Blackburn. Sheffield United are beating Watford by a goal, and that's a big goal that for Sheffield United to be leading against Watford. Middlesbrough trailing away at West Brom, so that's certainly good news for Sheffield United as they look to try and cement their place in second place. No one's going to catch Burnley. As it stands, Burnley are 19 points clear of third place. So Vincent Kompany's side are going back to the Premier League, barring some, well, maybe even if they lost every single game from now, you'd imagine they'd still be there or thereabouts. But it really has been a very impressive start from Vincent Kompany. I thought it was a bit of a risky appointment from Burnley to take a sort of player that's had a bit of coaching time in Belgium, spent all his time playing in the Premier League at England to suddenly go into a Championship club, but he really has taken to it very well. Forest now trying to get into some sort of attack mode as Gibbs-White breaks into the penalty area, trying to get past Angelo Ogbonna. The ball deflects off Ogbonna and it's out for a corner kick to Forest now down the right-hand side. And getting players up for this one. If they were to get a goal back here, it could just make the end of the game that little bit more exciting, but say they've still got a lot of ground to make up for. It's Morgan Gibbs-White standing over this one on the right-hand side. It's going to be an outswinger from him towards the edge of the 6-yard box, but goalkeeper Areola, who's had almost nothing to do really since he's come on for the injured Fabianski. Fabianski, in case you've joined us late, had a concussion. After a very innocuous collision with Felipe, Fabianski was effectively diving down to make sure that a ball that was being sort of shepherded for him by Declan Rice actually got through. But in the end, as Felipe tried to win that ball, Fabianski just sort of fell into his leg almost. There was no intent from Felipe whatsoever, but Fabianski looked very groggy when he was going. West Ham are now making a triple change here, and big round of applause for Lucas Paqueta, and rightly so. He's had a very good game this afternoon. He's replaced by Manuel Lanzini, so a South American substitution there. The Brazilian replaced by the Argentine. Also, we're going to see a change here with, it looks like it's going to be Pablo Fornals to come on for Saeed Benrahma. And the final change is going to be Danny Ings. He's going to go off and say he's probably getting the largest, biggest round of applause of all here. Danny Ings, double goal scorer. Won't get a chance to complete his hat-trick today. Mikael Antonio is on the field. And I can see why David Moyes would do that. On the one hand, you think, well, why not let Ings score a hat-trick with West Ham? You'd think has still got a decent chance to score a goal here in the last 7 minutes plus injury time. But then with Forest already conceding a few goals, you might think, well, this isn't a bad idea to actually let Antonio come on the field, and if he can get a goal as well, and all of a sudden David Moyes has two strikers in form, and Antonio really has been struggling for goal scoring form this season, so it does make sense from David Moyes' point of view. Now a ball over towards the right hand side here for Jarrod Bowen. Bowen trying to hold it up, and then he leaves it here for Ben Johnson. Johnson trying to break into the penalty area. That's good work. That's excellent work from Harry Toffolo to win that ball back for Forest. Although Forest give it away in midfield. West Ham back in possession here with Souček. Clipped over the top here now for Bowen. Breaking into the penalty area. Tries to lift it for Antonio. It's too high for Mikael Antonio. But it will still be kept in play here on the left by Cresswell. Feeds it down to Pablo Fornals, who does well to get away from Johnson. A ball coming in. It's a header and it's Mikael Antonio. Commentator's curse, or the reverse of the commentator's curse there, you have to say. I'd mentioned just a moment ago that it wouldn't be a bad thing for Antonio to pick up a bit of goal-scoring form. He's on the field less than 2 minutes, and he's got his goal. West Ham now lead by 4-0 against Nottingham Forest. And this has turned out to be a bit of a nightmare afternoon here for Steve Cooper's side. They've let some very ordinary defending. Very ordinary defending from Forest has allowed West Ham really to have the run of the second half, and now a 4-0 lead here for the Hammers with just 5 minutes left to play. We've got a second goal at Goodison Park, but it's not an equaliser for Everton. It's Emiliano Buendia for Aston Villa, so it's now Everton 0, Aston Villa 2. Leeds lead against Southampton by a goal to 0. Leicester trail at home to Arsenal by a goal to 0. And now at the London Stadium, it's West Ham United 4, Nottingham Forest 0. Aaron Cresswell on the left-hand side played a ball down the channel here for Pablo Fornals. He dropped his shoulder and then lifted across, and it's substitutes. Well, all three of the players involved in the goal are substitutes in the second half, but Cresswell came on at the start of the second half. Pablo Fornals and Mikael Antonio have literally been on the field less than a minute, but maybe 90 seconds at most. And they've now got West Ham on the board with a fourth goal. And Steve Cooper won't be happy with his players. I mean, there have been a few things that I think that what will frustrate Forest the most is that there's nothing they can say in terms of it being unlucky or one of those things. They've just not been good enough today. They've not had enough of the ball in attack. When they have had the ball in attack, they've wasted possession, and in the meantime, they've left themselves quite open at the back. So it's not been good from Forest at all. Another change here for Forest, by the way. Brennan Johnson is off for the last few minutes, and Sam Surridge comes on to replace him. So Surridge now on the field for these last few moments. And just looking at how long we might be getting in the second half. We may get a fair bit of injury time because of that injury to Fabianski. But then counter that with the fact that we have got a 4-0 scoreline. I mean, if we were due to have 5 minutes and then the fourth official put up a 3, I don't think anybody from Nottingham Forest or indeed West Ham would complain too much about that. But we'll wait and see. We've still got about 3.5 minutes before we see the fourth official's board. In the meantime, here come West Ham again down the right-hand side with Bowen. Bowen breaking into the box. His shot charged down by Felipe, and it's out for a corner kick to West Ham. Another opportunity here as we see. He did well there, Bowen. Got his shot away, but it was charged down by Felipe before the ball even got close to Keylor Navas. So now a corner kick to West Ham on the right-hand side. Looks like left footer Aaron Cresswell has gone over to take this one. It's going to be an in-swinger from now. We are actually getting a VAR check here before this corner kick is taken, because there is potentially a handball from Felipe. You couldn't see it from the angle that we were getting our live pictures from, but now a reverse angle does show that there was an arm across there from Felipe. Well, the VAR check has been and gone, and we're playing on, so they've not seen enough of a handball there to give a penalty. The corner kick's whipped in. Pablo Fornals tries to get a shot away after the initial corner was headed away at the edge of the 6-yard box by Toffolo, but Pablo Fornals couldn't quite control it. Ball goes back to Harry Toffolo, cleared up towards the halfway line, taken down, and here come West Ham with Pablo Fornals. It's short now towards Cresswell on the left-hand side. Cresswell's ball in. It's cleared away by Worrell. Declan Rice now over towards Ben Johnson. Johnson thought about the shot. He does get a shot away, but he's skied that one over the bar. Never looked like being on target there, really, from Johnson. And speaking of, well, we just saw Ben Johnson's ever go over the bar. We've just seen a very crestfallen Brennan Johnson sat on the Forest bench with his head in his hands, his sort of hooded bench jacket over him. And he's not happy at all. It's been a tough afternoon for Forest. They didn't seem like the first half there was that much of a difference between the two sides, but West Ham just stepped up and just had that bit more confidence in terms of possession and going forward. Forest perhaps just accepting their role as a sort of away side that are only going to play on the counter, perhaps a little bit too easily, because I think that certainly West Ham were there to be had in the first half. I think Forest perhaps just stepped away a little bit. They're trying to put a bit of pressure on the Hammers now. As we can see, David Sullivan, the West Ham owner, is looking certainly be very happy. Certainly be a lot happier. Wrapped up very warm today as well. It's bitterly cold across the country. It's only about 4 or 5 degrees across the border. Then with the wind chill, it's dropping down to about 2 or 3 degrees. And that Forest away end was completely full at the start of the game. It's probably about 2/3 full now. A few Forest fans making their way to the exit a little bit early. can't blame them really, although some pundits think that's the worst offence you can commit. I personally don't think it is. I think if you've had a long journey and you've seen your team not do very much, then you want to get a bit of a head start on the traffic, then why not? I think it's to say you paid your money, you take your choice, and certainly Forest fans this afternoon won't be happy with what we've seen. We have just seen the fourth official put a 7 up, so they are going to be very detailed with this added time. As here come West Ham now down the right-hand side with Declan Rice. Gets to the edge of the area, holding the ball up here for a teammate in Pablo Fornals. Fornals trying to get away here from Joe Worrell. Back towards Aaron Cresswell, who runs straight into Nico Williams. It's now cleared up towards the halfway line. Headed forward. And Forest now with a chance to go here with Andre Ayew. Down the right-hand side, heading towards the edge of the penalty area. Back to Jesse Lingard. He's hardly seen the ball at all here, really, Lingard, since he's come on. It's with Toffolo now down the left-hand side. Strong challenge there from Bowen, but referee says play on because it makes sense, really. Forest have still got the ball. So although this game started first in the second half compared to the other 3 games, there's a decent chance that this game might actually finish last this afternoon with all this added time that Mr. Busby, our fourth official, has added on. Say Fabianski was down for probably 4 minutes of that 7. We've had 4 goals scored. We've had substitutions, so it's about right. I was just thinking that maybe, from the point of view of this game as a contest being long since being over, officials might have shaved a little bit of that injury time off, but it's not to be. And Forest now in possession, deep inside their own half with Felipe and Worrell exchanging passes. It's with Remo Freuler, square to Williams. Now with a ball over the top, looking for that run of Sam Surridge. Surridge under a bit of pressure, just having to hold it up, plays the ball across, which is easily cleared away by Thomas Souček. Bowen now sliding in, trying to find Mikael Antonio. And Antonio's ball forward is just a little bit overhit. Forest are able to win that back, and it's with Keno. Just looking at the next fixtures for these two sides. As I say, the game is just starting to wind down. Still got a bit of injury time to go. Just over 4 minutes still to play here. But West Ham, they play away at Manchester United in the FA Cup. That is on Wednesday night. Then they play Brighton next weekend away from home. And then they're away to Larnaca. They're away in Cyprus for their UEFA Conference League knockout game, before playing Aston Villa on the 12th of March. That's what the next few weeks look like for the Hammers. From Forest's point of view, after the game today, they're at home to Everton, as I mentioned. That's a massive game for Forest. Then they're away to Spurs, at home to Newcastle, then at home to Wolves. So that's how it looks like for Nottingham Forest for the next month or so. They've got far fewer games because West Ham's still in the FA Cup and still in the UEFA Conference League. They'll have more fixtures now in the next few weeks. Though will be a big test at Old Trafford, considering how Manchester United have been looking over the past 5-6 weeks now. Forest seeing more of the ball in this injury time period. West Ham quite naturally just sitting back and not worrying about getting forward as Brennan Johnson, as Morgan Gibbs-White gets that ball into the penalty area. It's teed up, a strike coming in. That's a good save from Areola. Had to make a save there. Surridge was not too far away from getting a rebound. It was Freuler's effort from the edge of the box, teed up by Morgan Gibbs-White. Cross coming in from Nico Williams, which is easily cleared away back into midfield. Felipe keeping the ball alive here, though, for Forest. And then he lays it off here. Chance to come in from the left-hand side. The cross comes in, but it's cleared up towards the halfway line. Remo Freuler was one of the players sat deep there for Forest. Gets it in towards Gibbs-White. Gibbs-White into Lingard. He's had very few touches of the ball here, Jesse Lingard, since he's come on. He's on the ball now, though. The former Manchester United man and the former West Ham man, of course. He had a very successful spell here at the London Stadium on loan from United. And he raised a few eyebrows when he chose Forest over West Ham in the summer. It hasn't really worked out for Lingard so far. He's seen a club at Forest that's become awash with new players. And a couple of injury problems for him as well, but he's just been a little bit frozen out from the starting 11 here, Jesse Lingard. As the ball now played back towards Areola. We've got 2 minutes of injury time still to play here at the London Stadium. It's West Ham United 4, Nottingham Forest 0. A deserved scoreline when you consider how much West Ham have stepped up in the second half. But I'm sure Steve Cooper will feel as though his side are perhaps gifted, maybe not much the goals themselves, but just the way that they've been defending or not defending at times in this second half has just been a little bit naive, and it's just made things that little bit easy for West Ham. As we see this last mover from Forest, it was Lingard at the edge of the area teeing up Foyler, and then his effort, really good save there from Areola, tipping that shot away from goal as Neco Williams keeps the ball in play here for Forest down the right-hand side. Under a bit of pressure, we've got the first full-time result from the Premier League, and it's a winning start for Javi Gracia. Leeds United beating Southampton by a goal to nil. So that's Southampton now rooted to the bottom of the table, and that's Leeds out of relegation. And unless Everton can do something in the last few seconds against Villa, then Leeds will be out of relegation by the end of this evening. So that really is a big win for Javi Gracia's side. And as I say, we'll see, of course, how Leeds are able to bed down with their new manager over the next few weeks. Considering that allegedly quite a few people already turned Leeds down before Javi Gracia took the job, I think they've done well to get Javi Gracia. He was able to bring a bit of calm and a bit of stability and a bit of decent play into what is quite often a very chaotic Watford training ground and dressing room, of course, with the amount of manager changes that club has had over the past 5 or 6 years. And Leeds, of course, having their third manager now in just over a year. You don't include the caretaker managers as well, so it has been a period where they just need a bit more stability. But we've got the final seconds here at the London Stadium. It's all over, by the way, at the King Power. It's finished Leicester City 0, Arsenal 1. Big win that for Arsenal to keep the pressure at the top of the league, to send the message out to Manchester City that they have to win away at Bournemouth this evening now, where Arsenal's lead will carry on getting extended. Morgan Gibbs-White now bringing the ball forward here for Andre Ayew. Ayew stopped at the edge of the area. Attempted clearance there from Oged. It's hooked up in the air. The referee looks at his watch, and Jarrod Gile calls time here at the London Stadium. It's ended up being a fabulous win here for West Ham. A struggle for them at the in the first half, but it's a much better second half here from David Moyes' side. They go on to win by 4 goals to nil. It's been a sorry afternoon for Nottingham Forest. For myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz, thank you very much, and do join us again soon.